Hello, it's me coming to you live today. How about that? Cardinals rain delay. Why not just take this thing live? The Bernie Show. I'm Bernie Miklasz. You know who I am. Welcome back to the Bernie Show on this Thursday. I wrote about the Cardinals doubleheader and all that power on display. You know, yesterday, 6 home runs and 15 runs in the doubleheader. They just went nuts. So the Cardinals are in a rain delay today. I'm hoping that they can win that series. I think after what they did yesterday, a 2-2 split would be disappointing. Plus, the Cardinals need to, stack up as many road wins as they possibly can. They're making up for lost time, but at least, hey, they're 4-14 on the road. That ain't good, but it's better than 4-14. I mean, it could have been worse. I should say this. Pardon me. They're 4-14 on the road. And what am I doing? I'm messing this up. Never mind me. See, I was ready to talk about the Blues, but the Cardinals' road record got a little better yesterday. It's still not good enough. But I'm all discombobulated now, so I wasn't used to going live here. But I had to do this every day. I mean, when I get ready to do my video, just go live. And leave your comments and everything else, and we'll be here for a while. I'm going to talk about the Blues. I've got some material prepared on that. I wasn't real happy with the Blues and their performance last night in Winnipeg, and I'm sure many of you feel the same way. So, without further ado, good day to you. See, that's my official hello. I'm Bernie Miklasz, and welcome to the Bernie Show presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours. And before I sound off on the Blues' oddly uninspired performance in their Game 5 loss to Winnipeg, I just want to remind you of a couple of things. Number one, all my videos and columns are available for you here at sportshubstl.com, my wonderful new home. Number two, the videos are also available on the Sports Hub STL YouTube channel, which some of you, if you've clicked on, are watching live now. And on every video I do, there is also a podcast version of that video for you on Apple or Spotify. And I want to thank you for your support. Now, let's talk about the Blues. Where did they go? Well, I know they went to Winnipeg, but did they really show up the way that they needed to show up for Game 5? It was just really disappointing. I could see a hard-fought loss, and Winnipeg takes a stand. They win by a goal, but it's an even battle and all that stuff. But the Blues were actually just really put back in their place by the Jets, losing 5-3 in a game that was really a 5-2 game before the final minute, and it was a meaningless goal scored. It was a very disappointing showing, or should I say no-show, by a St. Louis team that went to, took their flight to Manitoba after 2 games in St. Louis, and they had all the momentum. But and something just absolutely baffled me because, listen, and I know Winnipeg was going to take a stand. They were going to make a stand. They were going to play better. They're going to be more determined. They were going to, just look like a more organized team. They were going to get after it. I mean, I realized that nothing was going to come easy for the Blues in Game 5. But these fellas displayed little urgency, and they made it ridiculously easy for the beleaguered Winnipeg goaltender, Connor Hellebuyck. This was a huge game, which means it was also a huge loss. It was probably a tipping point game. And if NHL history means anything, the Blues are really up against it now. No, by the way, I'm not writing anybody off here. First of all, they got to win Game 6. I don't have a lot of faith right now that they could win at Winnipeg in a Game 7, all because of the way they've played in the 3 games up there already. So the Blues are really up against it now. According to data at NHL.com, teams that started a best-of-7 postseason series with the home ice advantage in that series, and those teams go up 3-2, they have proceeded to win the series 80% of the time. So the Blues really are a long shot if it gets to Game 7. Doesn't mean they can't win. I'm just telling you what the historical trends tell us. and the Blues will have to really score an upset up in Winnipeg for Game 7. But just take care of business first and actually book the flight to get there. So the Blues are jammed up. They need to win Friday's Game 6 at Enterprise Center just to have another chance at getting a win at Winnipeg. Blues coach Jim Montgomery said after that lame loss last night, they were better than us. I thought that was their best game. Thought it was our worst game. We're on to the next one. Okay, fair enough. I got to say this, man. I love Jim Montgomery as the Blues coach. I mean, I love the fact they hired him. I love the way he turned this team around. I love the way he has throughout his time here, as the head coach, has made adjustments. He's quick on his feet, so to speak. But I haven't seen it in those games up at Winnipeg. I'm surprised he didn't have the fellows more ready to go. Well, I'm surprised that the fellows didn't have themselves ready to go. I'm surprised by how incredibly ineffective the Blues have been at 5-on-5 in their first 3 games at Winnipeg. I'm surprised that the Blues' best players, especially their forwards, haven't done much of anything at 5-on-5 in this series after leaving the comfort of Enterprise Center. I'm surprised that the Blues' best forwards have been so quiet in the 3 road games at Winnipeg. Just a question, because I'm watching the game, but, sometimes I get distracted, like last night. So I might have missed it. But has anyone seen Jordan Kyrou? Did he, help a brother out here? Did he make the trip to Game 5? Did he make the trip? Or, well, maybe he was a healthy scratch. And like I said, I don't know everything that goes on, so help a brother out. If Kyrou, was held back in St. Louis or something, or it was a healthy scratch, let me know, because I didn't see him last night. Anyway, it's got to just blow off a little steam. I was surprised that the Blues knocked Jet star Mark Scheifele out of the game on a couple of nasty hits in the first period, which got the Jets all upset. All those mean Blues. But after those mean Blues knocked Scheifele out, the Blues failed to take advantage of his absence. The Jets plugged in one of their lesser forwards. I've been trying to follow the media coverage in Winnipeg, and I hadn't seen much positive stuff said about before last night. Said about Vladislav Namstnikov. He had a hell of a game. They plugged him right in for Scheifele. He had a hell of a game. He was better than just about every Blues forward on the ice, at least a 5-on-5 last night. So the Jets didn't miss a beat after losing Scheifele, and that's just another reason why the Blues lost last night. And I'm going to call it a 3-goal loss because that's what it was. I don't care about the so what goal in the final minute after the game is already gone. Just amazing they couldn't take advantage of that. But what surprised me most of all, and I'm probably guessing where I'm going with this, is that the Blues could not get close enough to Hellebuyck. Not in a sustained way. They couldn't get near him enough, in his face enough, in his space enough to disrupt his line of vision, his comfort, his confidence, and everything that he kind of lost in Games 3 and Game 4 in St. Louis. He kind of, let's add to the list, he kind of lost his mind too, right? And this was preposterous. The Blues were up in Hellebuyck's grill in St. Louis nonstop. The coach had to pull him from both games, which he hadn't done. Hellebuyck had not been benched in back-to-back games as a Winnipeg Jet since April of 2022. So it was 3 years ago. But the Blues made it happen 2 in a row in St. Louis. And then, you go back to those fond memories of those games that were played just last week, but they broke them down with their relentless screens and deflections and angle shots and just general harassment. He's a very studious goaltender. He's a tall guy, 6'6". He likes to analyze. He likes to read plays. He's got the great eyes, the great vision, and he's got like a goaltender intellectual. For those of you of a certain age, you remember Ken Dryden. Hellebuyck's the same physical size. He's also got this sort of same goaltender goaltending style, the same cerebral approach to goaltending that the great Ken Dryden did in Montreal. But Ken Dryden also won Stanley Cups. Hellebuyck is still searching. He still hasn't found what he's looking for. And if you get in the guy's grill, it tends to just kind of mess him up. So after breaking Hellebuyck down in St. Louis, what gentlemen they were in Game 5. They repaired him. They repaired him, or at least they helped repair him. Sorry, I'm laughing. By pretty much leaving him by himself to tend to his psyche and to regenerate some confidence. Hey, I will say this for Hellebuyck, right? He give him credit. He made a great save, huge save, a money save when Oscar Sundqvist was seemingly right on the verge of firing a shot, almost a sure thing type of shot into the open side of the net on a 2-on-1 break. Hellebuyck used his long reach to make a stick save. It was a massively important stop. The score was even at 1-1 at the time. So if Sundqvist puts that puck in the back of the net, it could have changed the entire mindset, the entire psychology of this game. More confidence to the Blues, more uncertainty for the Jets, more terrible thoughts popping into Hellebuyck's head. But instead, the exact opposite thing happened, right? The Blues' confidence went down. His confidence went up. Winnipeg was feeling great after that. It was almost kind of like, well, we got this moment, even though that's not entirely true, because after the Blues fell behind 2-1, they did manage to tie it 2-2 on a goal by rookie Jimmy Snuggerud. So the Blues missed that extraordinary opportunity. And listen, after Snuggerud did tie it about 6 minutes into the second period, he beat him from a sharp angle, which is part of the playbook or the game plan, how you beat Connor Hellebuyck in the postseason. Because that one, got through somehow. And actually, Hellebuyck had a clean look at it, but just let it go right by him. And it looked like one of those really bad goals that he had allowed in St. Louis in games 3 and 4. But that's all, folks. That's it. That's all. And I'm exaggerating slightly. Okay? I'm telling you what you already know, but I got to talk about it maybe for my own therapy. The Blues could not get, after Snuggerud's score, the Blues could not get anywhere near Hellebuyck enough while this was still a winnable game. The Blues had only 8 shots on goal at 5-on-5 after 2 periods. 5-on-5 hockey is their foundational strength. They had 8 shots at 5-on-5 in the first 40 minutes of this game. And at all strengths, it's not like they were real strong either, because at all strengths, they mustered 10 shots, only 10 on Hellebuyck's goal for the first 2 periods. Yeah, I get it. Winnipeg was going to put in a new strategy, new tactics. I get it. They were going to try to keep that crease and slot clean. They were going to try to keep their tall goaltender looking clear, having a perfect view of what's developing instead of being blocked and blinded, so to speak, by all the Blues and all the traffic in front of them. So yeah, they did a hell of a job boxing out the Blues before the Blues could invade Hellebuyck's space. Yeah, they did a heck of a job. Yeah, Winnipeg's coach Scott Arnie, they did a good job too. Good goal. He had a good plan. I'd say he outcoached Coach Monty in Game 5 because where was the Blues' aggressive forecheck? It disappeared. Where was the ozone time? Disappeared. The defensemen weren't getting shots off. All the stuff the Blues did great in games 3 and 4, they were virtually non-existent in Game 5, and I don't get it. The Blues were neutralized, out of sync. They didn't get into their game, and when Winnipeg pushed back in Game 5, the Blues got real small, and I did not expect that, not for 1 minute, but that's what happened. Look, I know all of these big hits on Scheifele in Game 5 and other Jets and throughout the series, but especially those games in Winnipeg. I know these big hits look great on TV, and whoever's team it is that delivers the hits, the fans get all excited. Those are the kind of hits when Schenn took out Scheifele. those are the kind of hits that you go to on YouTube as part of those like 25 minutes of great hockey hits. Like my brother and I, he's a Capitals fan. He lives near DC, and I grew up as a Capitals fan before, I got to like college age. My brother goes to, he was telling me about that huge hit that Tom Wilson put on Carrier in the Capitals, first round victory over Columbus, Montreal, pardon me, where they, it was a 2-1 series, and, it looked like Montreal was going to even that thing up. And then all of a sudden, I think it was 2-1. My bad. I'm getting lost in details. There's no reason for me to provide the details. But Tom Wilson laid Carrier out, and it was a legal hit. It was a vicious hit, but legal. And the Capitals came right down the ice and scored. And then pretty much, as my brother and all these Capitals fans were saying, series was over at that point with that one hit. So sometimes these big hits do have the desired effect where they can change the outcome of a game or a series. But that really hasn't happened, certainly not in Winnipeg. It hasn't happened at all. I mean, Wilson delivered that hit up in Montreal, and it actually did change the series, very much so. But the Blues, they go around delivering hits. It's kind of fun to watch. I like physical hockey, trust me. But here's an idea. This, as applied to the way things are in these games at Winnipeg, through the first 3 games at Winnipeg in the series. Here's an idea. Instead of going after Scheifele and other Winnipeg Jets with those best of YouTube hockey hits, why not try, I don't know, to hit the damn net by shooting the puck? You think that might help your cause a little bit? Now, hey, everybody's going to go to YouTube and look at that hit over and over again. Oh, look at that. Oh, man, he messed him up. Okay. I would prefer that they hit the damn net, all right? They shoot the puck, they shoot it often, and they hit the damn net, and they test and challenge and prod and poke at a goaltender that looked like he was about to, crawl out of St. Louis. He was such a broken man. I'm being dramatic for effect. Winnipeg didn't back down 1 inch after the Blues went with the roughhouse approach. And I give them credit. You got to give the Jets a little credit there, because that was a really shaken team after St. Louis. They pulled themselves together, and because they were mentally set and organized and well prepared, they were able to take advantage of a Blues team that frankly didn't play their game and wasn't well prepared. Meanwhile, Hellebuyck had nothing to do for most of the second period after the Blues decided to ignore him by allowing the Jets to run up an advantage in offensive zone time and shots. The Blues did, and this is what really galls me about that loss last night. The Blues did the worst thing they could have possibly done in Game 5. They gave Hellebuyck space, and they calmed him down, and they turned this thing into an Eagles song. They gave him that peaceful, easy feeling. And that's the last thing they should have done. They had to keep the pressure on this dude. Instead, in that second period, especially because the Blues did turn it up in the third period, but it was too late, really. In the second period, I don't know, Hellebuyck had time to work on his yoga if he wanted. He might have been able to, check on family members, seeing how they were enjoying the game. He could have just used a cell phone there, smartphone right there in the net. I'm sure his wife, family are up there. See how they're doing. Hey, what are y'all eating up there? Yeah, I got nothing to do down here. How y'all doing? It's pretty nice, huh? Anyway, he would have had time to meet in the crease during the second period with his sports psychologist as the game was going on. He actually, if you want to think about it this way, and maybe it's because I got to run to the boys' room here in a few minutes, so it's on my mind. Hellebuyck had time to abandon the net, leave the ice, actually during the game, and go potty in the bathroom. He could have done that. He had time to watch. He even had time to watch one of those really long Martin Scorsese films. The Blues turned into Hellebuyck's best friend in Game 5. Hey, their coach should have thanked the Blues for their Hellebuyck charity in Game 5 instead of growling about how many times I've called the league office to complain about what the Blues are doing. And there's some of their hits. I've called the NHL office about this. So he seems like a good coach and a good guy. I'm just having some fun. But he was basically complaining about the Blues being too mean, okay? Well, I know one thing. The Blues were way too nice to Winnipeg's tormented goaltender in Game 5. And who knows? Can't say it now, but we might. I hope not. We might look back and say that cost them the series because they had this guy on the ropes, to use a boxing term. And why all of a sudden, and again, I know they had resistance from Winnipeg. I know there are two teams on the ice, but why the Blues just, you got to really want to get through that gauntlet that Winnipeg's got set up where they're going to box you out and not let you get near their guy that much, right? Well, does anybody think that that's like the first time Winnipeg ever set up a fortress like that in front of Hellebuyck? No. So why weren't the Blues ready for it? Why weren't they able to counteract it? Fellas, you were so nice to Hellebuyck, but one thing I would tell you, the handshake line comes at the end of the series, all right? You can pat him on the back and tell him good game and compliment him on his play, but not during Game 5, all right? All right, when I'm hollering, man. When I return, I'll have a look at some other stuff that bothered me about the Blues in Game 5. But listen, I love the affiliation with DraftKings because I'm a DraftKings guy. And I downloaded their app, and I've had a lot of fun playing. I really have. So I want to tell you about DraftKings. And if you think you know Major League Baseball, the NHL, the NBA, and any other sport that's going around, heck, I'm getting ready for the Kentucky Derby on Saturday. But if you think you know your stuff, and I'm sure you do, well, it's time to put your knowledge to use and make some money by going for big cash prizes at DraftKings Pick 6. Sorry. When it comes to huge payouts, DraftKings is a grand slam homer, a breakaway goal. They're a big 3-point shot to give you the lead, and all those good things. That's how they are compared to the competition. The challenge here, it's not about teams. It's about individual players and individual player stats. You decide whether a player is going to go higher or lower in a key stat that is posted at DraftKings. It could be, let's take baseball. It could be a specific number of base hits by a batter. Does he hit a home run in a game or no? It could be a pitcher. Does he strike out 8 in a game or no? Well, you decide whether to go higher or lower than that number attached to each player by DraftKings, and then you're on your way. Pick 6 is available in our state, Missouri, in addition to California, Texas, Georgia, and more. Playing's a lot of fun. You make your picks. It's fun to track your selections, and you feel like you're in the competition for that shot at the cash money. I signed up and was really happy how easy it was to get started. Like I said, you download the DraftKings app and you open an account. You choose your sport, pick your players, pick your lineup, and then you choose whether to go over or under the specific statistical line that has been set for that game for a player. Turn your knowledge of baseball, NHL, NBA into payouts, and you can get going today, and we'll help you. New players at DraftKings get $50 in Pick 6 credits instantly with a $5 entry. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports for new customers to play $5 and get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, welcome back to the Bernie Show, presented by DraftKings. All right, what do the Blues have to do? Well, first of all, they got to win Game 6. Nothing else needs to be said about that. And I'm sure they're going to come back with that same intense, spirited play, disruptive play that we saw in games 3 and game 4. Winnipeg's probably going to try to put up the fortress again to keep people away from their goal because their goaltender can't handle it when people are in his space. Boy, I wonder how Hellebuyck, when he goes like to a movie theater or something, what would he do if like some people sat next to him? He's probably looking for like a row that's completely empty, right? And if somebody moves into the row, he probably goes, he probably gets all jittery and like goes to another row where he can have it to himself, right? I'm just trying to have some fun. But anyway, certainly Winnipeg's going to try to keep the Blues away from him again. And I'm assuming Jim Montgomery will have some tactics to counteract that strategy. But if the Blues get this series back to Winnipeg, they're going to have to come up with their really robust, really strong 5-on-5 hockey. Again, their foundational strength. And it's been missing in this series in the 3 games that they have played away from 14th and Clark. The Blues had, if you look back on it, they had a good chance to win all 3 of those games. All 3 of those games for at least a time were sitting there for them. But the Blues failed miserably, failed to close the deal, failed to take advantage and see the opportunity because of their uncharacteristically weak 5-on-5 performance. In the 3 games up north, this is all 5-on-5 play. In the 3 games up north, the Blues had only 41% of the shots on goal. They had 37% of the high danger chances, only 37%. Only 31% of the goals, where the Jets outscored them 9-4 at 5-on-5. In St. Louis, these numbers were flipped in a big way the other way, advantage Blues. But in Winnipeg, the Blues 5-on-5 game is just not there. It's like, well, I'll get into something. I got an analogy to make. I thought about this a little while ago, so I'll hold this here for a minute. Anyway, the Blues will also need their stars to shine for the rest of the series, but especially if there's a game 7 in Winnipeg. All right, listen, in the 3 losses at Winnipeg, here's a partial Blues scorecard for 5-on-5 play. Nathan Walker leads them with 2 goals. Nathan Walker leads the Blues in 5-on-5 goals up in Winnipeg. The other 2 5-on-5 goals were scored by a rookie, first playoffs he'd ever been in, Jimmy Snuggerud, and Oscar Sundqvist. I wish he would have got another one last night. But again, give credit to Hellebuyck. At 5-on-5 in the 3 Winnipeg games, Robert Thomas got 1 assist. Kairu's got no points. Shen has no points. Buchnevich has no points. Jake Neighbors has no points. On and on and on and on and on. And I mean this sincerely. No disrespect at all to Nathan Walker. He's been fantastic in this series. But it's probably not a good thing when your 4th line is the best line up in those games in Winnipeg. That's probably not a good sign. And no disrespect to the WTF line, but when Nathan Walker is your leading scorer in 3 games at 5-on-5, the Jets home ice, and your best players haven't shown up, that's not conducive to winning. Period. 5-on-5 is the way the Blues have to win. Listen, let's have a brief history lesson, and that's really all it is. The Blues were a horrendous. They were such a weak 5-on-5 team under Drew Bannister. And that's why they ranked 26th in the NHL in points percentage before Bannister was replaced by Monty. Jim Montgomery transformed the Blues into one of the league's top 5-on-5 units, and really a dramatic change. And they really were one of the best 5-on-5 teams in terms of percentage of the goals scored at 5-on-5. It was something like 57%. But here's the way I look at it. And maybe I'm being a little too smarty pants or clever for my own good, but I don't mean it that way. In the 2 games played in this series in St. Louis, the Blues got after it like a team that was coached by Jim Montgomery, right? 5-on-5, that's his strength. That's his thing. But in the 3 games played at Winnipeg so far, the Blues got after it, or I should say didn't get after it, at 5-on-5 like they were a team coached by Drew Bannister. I mean, yeah, night and day. It's got to change. I don't have a lot of confidence right now. I haven't given up on the Blues, but if it gets back to Game 7, I would be confident if I knew the fellas would storm the ramparts and just get all over Hellebuyck again. Yeah, then I would be confident. But they haven't done it in 3 games up there. They made it so easy for this guy. And even, the Snuggerud goal was one of those bad angle shots, but the Blues didn't. If they just would have pumped more pucks at him, he may have given up a couple of more bad goals. But they never gave themselves, the Blues, never gave themselves a chance to crack him and break him again. And this has got to change. If I was confident the Blues can do it in Winnipeg after they haven't done it, I'd feel a lot better about their chances, but I'm kind of wobbly. They're going to have to go if there's a Game 7, and I'm saying they got to earn Game 6 first. But if they are fortunate enough to do that, St. Louis is going to be rocking on Friday night, by the way. You got Winnipeg and St. Louis, Game 6, must win for the Blues. You got the Mets in town playing the Cardinals on Friday night. And the Battlehawks have a Friday night game as well. Sports are very, very good for the city of St. Louis, bringing people downtown, right? I always laugh at the sports haters. Well, there are more important things in our city where people should worry about. We really need to get to work on all kinds of things in the city instead of worrying about these games. The games bring in revenue. I'm a city resident, and I can testify that as someone, we don't get our trash picked up much, or all kinds of other basic services. I think the city needs some revenue, huh? All right, sorry for that disruption. They're gonna have to swarm and disrupt and rattle Hellebuyck. They're gonna have to go after Hellebuyck in Game 6, but then again in Game 7, if there is one, they're gonna have to go after him like a pack of mad dogs instead of looking out for his well-being like a nice group of kind and sensitive service animals. Unleash the hounds, not just in Game 6. It's got to go in Game 7. Instead of worrying about taking guys out along the wall, nowhere near Hellebuyck, why don't you get rough in front of the net again? In front of his net. So the Blues are going to have to get into Hellebuyck's house on the ice in Winnipeg if it gets to Game 7 and storm those net front areas instead of going to his house to drop off flowers and a box of candies and thoughtful notes of encouragement. I don't want the Blues to be nice to him. They should be making the guy sweat. It was awful last night how disengaged they were. So I just hope the Blues can book that chartered flight back to Winnipeg. I believe they will. But after Game 5, all bets are off in Game 7, because there was a time I believe, the Blues will take Game 7. They put some doubt because they didn't put any doubt in Hellebuyck's mind in Game 5. They put doubt in a lot of our minds about whether they can win Game 7 up there. You got to keep the doubt on his side, in between his ears, okay? And if the Blues are fortunate enough to get to Game 7, they can't look like a team of Banny boys. They have to be a team of Monty men, okay? That's all I got for today. Thanks for watching. I can keep talking if you want. I'll get instruction from the home office. But thanks to DraftKings for presenting the Bernie Show, and I'll be back Friday with more to come. As always, thank you very much.